All right, we're live.
All right. So I was told we got some people hanging out in the chat a little early. I guess
Very early.
I want
Super.
to say,
Chemical
huh?
Coyote was here before I even sat down at the computer and was able to even pull up chat.
Nice, nice. Well, we like it. Well, we have to say that we appreciate that, and we appreciate the loyal support. Thank you, Kelly. Happy Saturday and roll tide to you too. Um, because it makes this fun when we know that people really wanting to interact with us or at least hear what we have to say, right, JT? So this is
Absolutely.
it's a glorious Saturday to be here for on this special edition. So we're not gonna. I don't want to take up too much of your time about this with you guys about this because we got an action packed deal. We're actually going to do this in three segments, and I'm going to say this again after the introduction. One, we're going to do some data analysis, um, give you a bunch of numbers and all those kind of things, so you can kind of see what Coach DeBoer has done in the past. Second, after that, we're going to do film analysis, basically trying to give you a real picture, a visual now of what that actually looks like on film. Do our film breakdown on that, and then third, we know there are a ton of questions. We hear that we see that there are things already in the inbox. What about this? What about that? So we want to be able to talk to you guys after that and answer those questions and give you their best take on that. So three pieces to it. We're going to get started with that right now. All right, so I bet you're asking why I got this cowboy shirt on this on this Alabama show or whatever. Well, I signed some autographs today. The Dallas Cowboys got a big game tomorrow by playing the Packers. Ironically, I played for the Packers and the Cowboys. People were asking me a lot today, who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for? So I just go ahead and put my shirt on so people can stop asking me who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for the Cowboys to win the game. But today, I'm rooting for the Alabama Crimson Tide. All right. And so in my little talk right here, before I bring my son in, I got a couple things I need to say to you first. Right. So first, thank you to the Bama Standard and all of the followers there who were watching this simulcast with us. We're very grateful for Justin and the gang for the support they allow us to have with that. So thank you guys for being here and being in the chat as well. JT just put on the screen to subscribe and like. Make sure you hit that there. We're trying to. What the help do we want for you guys? We're trying to get to the century mark. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're not quite there yet. People
That's
might
the
be.
that's the millennium mark.
No, millennium mark. Sorry. We need 1,000 of y'all. Okay. And we're not there. And so we're trying to get there. I don't know what that, I guess we'll have to get to that Lamar Thomas thing in a little bit. And then I want to talk about this now. I said I just want to put this in here because I know it's already been in there. It's about coaching staffs. What happens when coaches get fired is what you need to know. What happens to those people? JT and I both have coached, been around a lot of different coaches, or maybe not even when they fire, when they get retired, when their head coach retires, what happens? So, a lot of times, it's known to us in the industry that when the head coach leaves, everybody else's job is in jeopardy. You're sitting, you're waiting, and you're nervous, but you're already making calls. You got your agent making calls. If you're in high school, you already started to put your resume out, just trying to figure out where you can go next, because head coach is gone, pretty much everybody's contract is terminated. So for us to speculate who's going to remain at a school is very, very hard to do. When I became the head coach of JP2 and the other places, I always try to interview people and see um, who I would like to keep from the staff, if any at all, because I might have come with a group that I already like and trust. Being a head coach means that you're building those, because in your interview, most of the time the athletic director is asking right now, who are you probably going to come with you? Do you already know who your coordinator is going to be? Do you know who your defensive back's going to be? And if you got a list that already says, "Hey, I've already worked this out," with these guys, and yes, they will come. Man, we like that even better because they were not even necessarily scrambling around or trying to renegotiate or trying to figure out what kind of budget, it's going to have for a staff. So um, that's what I want you guys to hear. So JT, come on in here for a second, right? And I feel like this would be appropriate if we could do this right now because I was looking at the score of uh, the Kansas City game, but also was quickly reminded of the video that you showed me of what the weather looked like in
In
Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. If you guys hadn't seen that, this made me want to go to a different place. Y'all gonna like my lead here. So I feel like we need to go to the beach just for a quick minute.
Oh
I just
wow.
need to know. I just know if we can go to the beach for a quick minute because we got this really great company that supports us and they make you feel at home. And when you look at that Buffalo stuff and you're looking at the weather in Kansas City and all this kind of stuff, it makes you want to go to a place like this, something that you can create at your house. So let's see if JT. Let me tell you about Beaches LLC. Yes, Beaches LLC is your source in the state of Alabama and the Florida Panhandle for exquisite quartz sand beach pools by Biodesign USA. A Biodesign beach sculpted pool is crafted with beach entries, customized seating areas, and swimming zones, and they all can be personalized to your swimming needs. The Biodesign swimming pool is meant to immerse you in your surrounding environment. The illusion of a truly beautiful beach can be created and extended onto the patio area, creating one seamless shore environment. Let them help you turn your dream backyard escape into reality with an eco-friendly, more durable, less time, and less expensive to maintain, totally customizable pool. To learn more about turning your dream into a reality, please visit their website at www.yourbackyardbeach.com.
Am I
Okay,
supposed to hit the
so
chimes for you? There you go.
yeah, I do. So can you please make sure you put that little toss that I gave you on the highlight reel? Because you got to admit that was pretty damn
No, that
good.
was
You
good.
know, give a
Because
round of applause.
I had no idea where this was going.
Well, I knew I needed to be there. So again, thank you to Beaches LLC for jumping on with Teague's Take, and one day we're going to be fortunate to have something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into part one of this, right?
Oh right, and the quick reminders for people who just showed up again. Um, we know there's going to be a lot of questions in chat. We're going to save all of the questions for the end after we get through some of the film session, just so that we can address the things that we need to get addressed, especially when it comes to coaches and who's here and who's not here and players, all that kind of stuff. We will put them in the chat. I'll put them in a queue. We'll get them at the end.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that because our main goal is to be able to give you the information on what we feel like the play will look like for Alabama. Do we have any kind of insight on what the offense might look like? What does he like to run? And then actually show you the film of some of those things too and dive into that. So that's going to take us a good minute. So we need for y'all to be patient and understand that, and then we'll get to some of the other questions, as JT said at the end. So what we wanted to do first in the first part of the show is be able to talk about some data analysis, and JT's done a tremendous job of just looking at some I don't know, a lot of different categories, right? So is there somewhere you want to start with that on, saying, all right, well, why don't we just start with the offensive side? All right, because everybody's going to be wondering about what is this going to look like for Jalen Milroe? Are we still going to run the ball? Are we throwing the ball? Do the formations look different? You had Tyrese come in. How
Mm-hmm.
much is this is actually going to change? So, why don't we stick on the offensive side of the ball right now? Is there anything glaring to you that he's kind of done in the past, particularly why is it Washington, that you think our peeps should know? Um,
Yeah. So there is. Oh, we know he doesn't run the ball as much as the predecessors, but I think that there is a perception that he really doesn't run the ball like ever, but that's
but
not
he
quite
does.
true. Right? It's still it's 60% pass, 40% run. Almost balanced. Like I know that that 20% different. I mean, it's 10% off from the average over the last 2 years, but 60-40 is kind of normal.
That's
Yeah.
that's split. That's 50-50. 60-40 is a new 50-50, isn't it? Just because of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
rules of the game.
the way this game is now, 60-40. I mean, we see it in the NFL all the time, right? In my mind, 3rd and 3 is like an obvious rundown, which is not true anymore. 3rd and 3 means pass for most teams. Hell, I mean, even 3rd and 1 a lot of times. If you're not the Philadelphia Eagles, basically 3rd and 2 or longer is going to be a pass.
Pass, right?
So,
That's right.
60-40 is not bad at all. Which you'll also see, because I went and I looked at what are their top formations. A lot less heavy than we saw the last year. I think it'll look more like Sarkisian. They like to get into doubles, 10 personnel. So one back, 0 tight ends, 2 wide receivers each side. Then they also, from there, they like to get into 11 personnel doubles, where they'll have 2 wide receivers on one side, a tight end, but he's off the ball, and then a receiver. Then I think their third favorite is like empty, which you can talk about that. You actually enlightened me that was actually, they were actually running quads in empty and not just 3x2, which is yikes. That's nightmare for defenses. That's a problem. But then they like to get into various forms of trips. So I think trips in totality is what they like to run the most, whether that be trips with the tight end in the trips, which is what a lot of people are going to call tray. Then they've got trips closed, where they've got 3 receivers on one side, the tight end away and attached to the line, and then they'll get into some trips open as well. But it's essentially some form of trips / tray. Then it's going to be empty, and then your double sets. And the back is going to be set strong to most of these. Sometimes they'll get into a dot or something like that. But we know we're still going to see a lot of shifts. We're going to see a lot of motion. They're going to line up and look like they're going to do one thing, and they're going to move to something else, get into something else like that, and then it's going to be you're going to have command of the offense.
Yeah. So for the formation standpoint, meaning how they line up, it should be, because what we saw the past year at Alabama, we still saw a lot of different formations, or it started to progress a little bit. To the eye, people won't really see that much of a difference, you think, or is it, if you're just a layman's person and you're looking at it and you're looking out there, it's not going to look too much different, right?
No, I don't. I mean, from last year, maybe just fewer tight ends on the field at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So not as much 12 personnel, or are you saying in that the formation doesn't necessarily mean the personnel, because you're still going to get the same formations if you got 12 or 13?
Yeah, but I think the personnel is going to be much different. I didn't see, and I forgot to run the personnel report, but at least when I was looking at the formations, checking the film to make sure they matched what the stats said, it was all 10. It was either what we were talking about earlier, 01, 10, or 11.
Yes. Okay. And so, when we talk to A1, go ahead and explain 01 before we.
Yeah, so how we do personnel numbers, the first digit is how many backs are in the game. The second digit is how many tight ends are in the game. So 10 personnel, 1 back, 0 tight ends. 11 personnel, 1 back, 1 tight end. 01, 0 backs, 1 tight end, which anytime you have 0 backs, it's going to be some form of empty, whether or not it's a tight end attached. I don't know how they're going to do it. Whether it might be quads and a tight end and backside. There's many different formations you can get into with all of the different personnels. But anytime it's 0-1, that just means empty.
Yeah, unless you got a Debo Samuel or Kendrick Law or something that you could throw back there as a running
Right.
back for the personnel. Okay, so I did look at that, and JT thank you for sharing that with us. And I did look at the formation just a little bit, and it, although he was diving into the formations, I kind of looked at what the personnel group, and he's right. Again, it's all on personnel. Do you have good tight ends? How many do you have? How did you recruit? This type of stuff. So, the uh, 10, 11, 12 seem to be his highest amount of groupings. And believe it or not, the 01 grouping, as you said, was in there too, as in the top four groupings. So he's trying to spread you out um, and do some things there. Okay. All right. So what do you take that from there? Now that you're looking at the formations, anything else you saw and what that means from maybe how you play or what kind of
Yeah,
plays you run?
I think that inherently kind of dictates what your run game is, and I think that's backed up by um, some of the breakdowns on their run concepts. They
Mhm.
anecdotally, um, the heavier your sets are, the more likely somebody's pulling. The more likely you're going to be doing gap scheme
Yeah,
things,
teams.
power, trap, lead, counter. Not that they don't do these things, they just don't do them nearly as often as um, as inside zone and outside zone. So
Yes.
when you only got 5 linemen in the game, man, not a tight end. Well, they'll have a tight end in, but we'll say 5.5 linemen. It's much easier just to run zone. Um, Seems like the idea is to spread people out. Ooh, look, spread offense. Who'd have guessed? Spread people out. Try to get um, an even number in the box. Even not meaning 2, 4, 6. Even meaning hat on a hat, 1 for 1, and then run the ball from there. Maybe even +1 because you got your quarterback who can run. Um, which wish I would have got my plays in there because I did have a couple quarterback runs that they have that I think that um, we might see more of. They don't do it now, and I think kind of that was part of that is when you got Michael Penix Jr. slinging a rock all over the place and he's a Heisman candidate for his arm. Um, you don't need to have him run QB counter and sweeps and power and all that kind of stuff with the quarterback. Um, but when you got Jalen Milrow, maybe you can start. It's a good coach's offense never is stagnant. Just because that's what you did doesn't mean that's always what you're going to do, right? You have a system. Your system should adapt to the personnel that you have on your team. So knowing that they have um, quarterback runs in the system, maybe some more of that shows up with what we got.
That's right. And so I'll dive in that a little bit more. And I do want to say, man, JT, and I just want to, because in my deal, I was thinking, our mantra is so much of run the damn ball, be physical, and all this kind of stuff, right? And there are certain type of runs that happen with that, the powers, the counters, and just the aggressiveness of that. I'm hoping he stays with that. I do need to say that inside zone can be a very physical type of run. We ran a lot of it last year. It's not something new because you create the double teams and things of that nature. So as JT was saying, that has been his favorite run. I did look at the stats and look at the numbers, and it was 31% inside zone
Mm-hmm.
or the run. That's pretty high when you start, saying, hey, one
Yeah,
out of
and a
three
lot of it
run.
was read option anyway.
That's right. And that's the other piece where JT's getting into. We can talk about that, how you can actually use the quarterback to keep the ball and throw it, or have the quarterback pull it and run it. So there's added pieces of that. Because when I was looking at it, I was like, man, I don't know, this is kind of booty. But I'm so used to Jalen Monroe and wanting to run it. And then I'm looking at other stuff like, man, dang it, pull it, or, or something. They're just chasing and running back down in there. They can't get it really going, All right. The next piece and why I thought that was so interesting is at 30% because the next run in the data sheet, they call it a pull and lead, right? It's basically a sweep in my mind. You got a
Well, yeah, so
puller.
I was looking at those because they were all like different, right? They had like what kind of looked like a wing tee belly without the wing. So it's like a
Yeah.
buck sweep, I guess, except with just one puller instead of two. And then some of them
Yeah,
look like power.
that's right. They look like counter. They look like power. So I was really just kind of lumping it all in there because when you look at counter, so anyway, the pull and lead was like 17%, and then the counter was at 14%. So there weren't anything close to the inside zone. You're
No.
going to get heavy inside zone, inside zone, throw the bubble, that kind of thing. Seems a little elementary, um, not very creative as we're always talking as analysts and stuff. Hey, it's just kind of boring. But if it's effective and your guys can cut and do those things, Michigan's run game's kind of boring too, right? But they're, running it down your throat just because they're physical, the same way Alabama has been. Now, he was very creative with doing things. Tommy Reese, I'm talking about, was very creative with runs. I did like his runs. I don't know if we ever actually said that. I liked the running package that we had. I just thought it was fun to watch, and you
Hmm.
just never knew where the ball was going to go because people are crossing your face and all this kind of stuff. This offense, from the small little chunks that I watched, there wasn't a lot of that eye candy. It was just it's zone. We're gonna be smart and block the people that we got to block. Counter, they come wrap around and all this kind of stuff. So I think the run game will be. I don't know. It goes into how he uses Jalen Milroe, a quarterback that could run the ball, or if he's going to try to do something else with the passing game. So I guess we can go ahead and talk to you. Anything you want to say about the passing piece?
Yeah. So I also looked at their top five most thrown routes. Trying to remember off the top of my head because I left my computer in the car. Um, hitches, number one. Out routes, number two. Crossers, number three. Go routes, number four. Wide screens, number five. Um, those are not complicated routes, which is great. I mean, I think that simple does not mean simplistic, which is something that I definitely live by and is in my own coaching philosophy. You want to make things simple, but we don't want to be simplistic. So with that, and I think a lot of the wide screens probably are actually, since we know that 20% of the plays are RPOs in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where a lot of the wide screens come in. Um, but as I was telling you earlier, those hitches, in my mind, you're thinking 5 yard hitch,
Others.
just quick. They're not. They're not 5 yard hitches. Most of them are not 5 yard hitches. Most of them are like somewhere between 15 and 17 yards. It looks like a go route. At least if you look at the play art, looks like a go route. Somebody's over the top and then they curl up and they hit them that way. Um, so even some of them look like four verts, and they're all curling up 15 to 17 yards. The times that I was seeing shorter hitch routes were shorter scenarios. 3rd and 3, just get to the sticks, 2nd and 6, maybe it's a 7 year. But man, if they got some time, if they feel like they got some time and it's 1st and 10, that hitch route might be 22 yards down the field. And it looks like a go, but he curls up. So um, a lot of the half field concepts are pretty easy, whether it be that Ohio concept, out route and a go, which is really, and theirs, it's a deep out and a deep hitch, maybe 10 yards on the out route and 17 back to 15 on the hitch, and they can shorten that down. They like to run that Carolina route. I don't know what chat would call it at large. I don't even know what most coaches call it, but that semicircle. We call it a Carolina route in college. We call it a Maui corner in high school, but 5 yard. It's basically a 5 yard now slant, and then you're gonna take it up vertical 10 yards, and then 5 yards back out to the corner. Kind of looks like a C. Um,
Hmm.
so that seems to be a lot, and then a lot of isolation routes. So they're running people in places to kind of pick on pattern matching and pick on zones where they can get one receiver isolated on somebody one on one and try to fit the ball in that way. So um, I don't think it is. If you look at it at the play diagrams on paper, I don't think it's complicated, but it looks like to me that it's designed to take those uh, take those concepts and confuse the rules of your defense.
Yep. So if you want to break down what JT is saying, essentially, you got to have someone at the helm that can run that be at quarterback who can. The concept is not hard, but where you need to throw the ball to and the time that you release the ball
No,
has to be
yeah,
on.
timing
You
is going
have
to be
to be
paramount.
on point. You can't. In some cases, you can't hold the ball too long, right? But you need to get it out. Those are the RPOs and the other things. Those need to be accurate throws, short bubbles, hitches, things that you're talking about, the slants, the outs, all those things got to come out time, on time. But it is kind of fun for him to say, you know what, just don't. If you want to sit, you're going to get hung with something right behind you. You know, the out nine concept. So if they see a corner uh, sitting, someone from upstairs is saying, "Hey, tell me to hit that doggone nine." You know,
Hmm.
um, that kind of thing. But that still takes a very good cerebral quarterback. I'm not just talking about that one route, but some of the other stuff that's happening. So you got to be able to go from your first read to your second read, and some of it might have to be pre-snap based upon what he's doing. So I thought it was kind of cool to watch it and difficult. Like JT said it the best. The route seems so simplistic, but at the same time, you had to cover everything. Which one are you going to cover? Are you covering this deep ball I got? Are you covering this out ball?
Yeah, and I think the
Are
best
you
way to
doing
put
this?
it in is that those concepts are very good at putting one player in conflict. Right? He can't be right, and if he tries to play both, there's three options: take receiver A, take receiver B, or try to cover both. And two of those options are going to be incorrect.
Hmm. So that is good. We do want to. So some of the clips that we will show here in a minute are not all the ones that he just said. I can tell you the ones that I actually put in there. I actually put in. I'm saying it's a bubble route, but it's off of a RPO. So we better talk about what the run looked like if we decided to hand it off. A mesh route, those are like crossing routes. Those
Mm-hmm.
are, again, with someone else somewhere where you still have short people that can catch short routes, but there's always something going over the top too if you want to get nosy. Quads and what that looks like, I thought is an interesting pick. And then something they call the dagger. And you probably have another name for it. You'll see it, but it's basically he likes to run a lot of I call them four beaters, and maybe that's because he likes to play so much four. The um, up the field, someone's going vertical, and then you got to dig behind him, or coming underneath, or perhaps the deep overs, kind of like what Bama has been running in the past. We are going to sneak in a little bit of Fresno film just to see, so you can see what the plays look like in a red uniform instead of the purple uniforms. Well, we'll show some run plays too. We do have inside zone counters and the pull and lead. Um, we'll see how much time we have to be able to show those clips as well. The only other piece of the thing that we won't show is necessarily the defense on that. But JT, I don't know how much you looked at statistically. This will be the last piece before we get to the film, I
At the
guess.
defense,
Yeah.
none, zero.
Okay. And so I did, and I really just looked at what the top coverages were that he was actually running all of last year, and the number one coverage, which would be a little bit different for us, right, would be it's cover four. He played quarters most of the time, about 30% of the time. It was quarters. I did watch some of the film. I'm sorry that I didn't get the film up for you to be able to show it to you. JT, you probably want to take a peek at it when you can because it's a real aggressive four, though. That scared the heck out of me because those safeties set real flat footed and real close. So the post was always like
Hmm.
one on one.
Well, I want to see because quarters is kind of my thing now.
Yes.
So I'll be sure to study that.
Yeah, I love it too. I love a cover four. I'm not. It just. I was shocked to see how aggressive the safeties were. They were true run fillers. It's similar to what you're doing, right? And they would, but they turned it into a pattern match like you would do in cover
Hmm.
three. So they were a lot of times teams would know that they were trying to get corners on the safeties or overs, and they would just end up just taking it and kind of eating it up. And they basically used the pro concept. The same thing we did when I was with the Cowboys and the Packers and everywhere else. Corners, you got to make your money. The safeties are going to be aggressive in this run. They're going to be late. They'll shield you and try to make the ball throw over your head if they late, but you better cover the post. um, so that's
Oh yeah, I
basically.
mean that's my
Mhm.
rule. Hey, if it's a post by number one, that's your problem.
hmm
That's
So
not a me problem.
yeah, so you got to have some pretty good corners to be able to do that. The second coverage was cover three. Um, it just looked like cover three. Nothing. It was about 26%. Is what I have here, and so that was it was still pattern match. It didn't look like just let everybody run through the zone. They were
Yeah,
really
not a country cover three as I would
mm-mm.
call it.
Yeah. So they were doing that, and then he actually played a little bit more man than I thought. And now again, they're in a different conference. They're doing certain things, so the percentages and all that stuff might change once you come into the SEC. But he played man about 18% of the time. Um, After that, everything else kind of fell down. There wasn't a whole lot of combo coverage. There wasn't a whole lot of other stuff with it. So um, it could look very different for secondary. So when we were talking about, I'm sure we're gonna get asked about on what does the secondary, who is the secondary coach and all that kind of stuff. It's a different feel from what Nick Saban has been running for years. Um, if he sticks with the same type of things, because quarters is totally, well, I'd say totally different than how we've been playing at Bama over the past few years. Right? Would you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of dabble in quarters a little bit, but Rip List three has always been um, Saban's staple. So, but as times change, you got to start your percentages start to change of what you run and what you need to run, and personnel kind of dictates a little bit of that too. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, is there any other glaring thing you feel like you need to say before we get into this film?
um, yes, because like I said before, there were some QB runs that I was trying to find, and I was shocked because a lot of the QB runs were not actually QB runs. What it
Mhm.
was Wildcat. It was a ton of Wildcat.
No, no, I didn't. I didn't watch any of those.
Yeah, so they'd line up and then motion Penix out and bring a receiver in. It could have been anybody. Sometimes it was a receiver, sometimes it was a running back. It was just organized chaos is the way I would say it because they'd line up one way, then they'd shift, and then they'd motion, and then next thing you know, it's a direct snap to the running back, and of course it's still inside zone, but now you got somebody else with their hands on the ball. There's there's a lot of things they like to do. They will give you a lot of different looks, and as you were talking about with Penix, a lot of checks being made at the line, trying to get them into the right spot in the right formation, all those different things. So the QB room is going to have their work cut out. a little bit offensively because they're gonna have the expectation is that they're going to have to be a general on the field. I think, at least that's what we saw. Now, Penix is a Heisman finalist and whatnot, so you can give that to him. Penix also played for DaBoer, I think, at Indiana, so it wasn't like his first time in the offense. So there's all kind of different things that all the quarterbacks are gonna have to figure out over the next couple of years.
Yes, that's right. So it'll be fun to watch over the spring when spring football gets here and what that actually looks like. But let's go ahead and get to this. And we apologize for asking like what play is next and all this kind of stuff because we really put all this stuff together on a whim, right? They announced it on Friday.
Yeah, they announced it on Friday. We do our shows on Wednesday, and we weren't even doing a show this Wednesday. This was the week off, so this all kind of came together pretty fast.
Yeah, it did. So we hope you guys appreciate that. We hope you appreciate it so much that you will go ahead and subscribe to our channel and give us a like because it did take us a minute to try to get to um, a lot of this stuff, grab this data, try to find the film that we thought would be relevant and things of this nature. So we went to work for you guys to be able to talk about this because we know how important it is for us to be very good at this. So this is Washington in the purple. The first thing you need to see already, and I thought this was interesting, is because they're already showing a quad unbalanced set. you know, I don't think it ends up there. I can't remember. But you see the stressors that you're already
Well,
putting on.
is it fair to call this quads? Because the running back is still strong. Like
Oh,
there are
what
five
would
people
be
over here.
five? What would you call that? We don't even have
Well,
fifth.
you can't do that, right? That's not this guy. Let me. That guy is not eligible.
Let's roll.
This guy is. So it is quads in the sense of that's one, this is two, that's three, there's four, and this is the fifth eligible receiver backside. But you come out and you see this. That's you better know how to align. I'll say that.
That's right, because you actually could snap it that way. Um, okay, so that's the first thing. I thought that hit me right up in the face really fast. Just seeing this and the amount of times I saw stuff like this was kind of interesting. All right, so let it run. I believe this is an RPO. Um, that I yes. So he'll have to run that back to you the best that he can. So you can see there was a puller that went to the top. We were talking about this.
Oh yeah, there was
Two
that's
pullers.
GT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two pullers. So he could have actually handed this to the running back um, and let him go, which would have seemed like it would have been a good play. And then you see the second piece of where the other number, who would be the number two and number three position type people are going to block, and they got a bubble screen essentially by number four or an out. So you talking about stresses. You remember when we talked about them linebackers all the time, trying to figure out which way they're going to go?
Yeah, because again, what are your keys, right? This guy, it's like you better be looking at your guards, and one of those guards is pulling, so you better follow him. Probably yelling at this dude that your guy's pulling, and then you got these four, to handle
five because they're
yeah.
the other. Well,
So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know who they're playing here. Whoever it is, they got to tackle better. But as far as just like misdirection and eyes getting to the right place, you're putting those linebackers in a bind.
Yes, and you see him looking
Yeah,
around.
and
Go
he, and
back.
he
You
they
say
don't
he ain't even
he,
moved.
he's not even, he ain't even ready because he's trying to. He's like, there's five dudes over here.
Circle the guy so everybody can see it. It's kind of funny because the play is snapped and he's just standing there looking at the safety. The safety's screaming at him. It's the guy on the 5-yard line right in the middle of the field. Um, check him out when the play starts. It's kind of funny to me. You can see him looking around, his hands are up, and he's just standing there
Yeah,
looking
man. Oh,
backwards.
now he's yeah. So I'm talking about him like, hey, you supposed to be following his guard, and he's not doing that because he's talking to safety.
Yeah, he
I
just
mean,
fell off into.
really?
He probably would have went the other way
Yeah,
anyway
I'm
if he
saying
would
really,
have
he's
known.
only in the play because he had his head turned. Because he had his head turned.
And then
And
he
he missed
missed
the
the tackle.
tackle anyway. That's crazy.
So that's fun, but that's another one where the quarterback has to make a decision here, right? All right, I put this in here because I got a couple of these in here. This one is, well, first of all, they end up in what they would call quads, even though he's in motion over there. So there's 4 over there. The part that I want you to see is number 5 at the bottom
Nope,
is gonna
moved too far
do.
back. That's on me.
No, it's okay. He's gonna this is what you would call a mesh route. So I want to show you this here, what they did at Fresno, and then how they did it at Washington. So they're crossing, they're trying to rub, and it is the quarterback's job to read the linebacker or the safety. In this case, you can see one of them chasing those guys. So he should know right now he's going to be looking to the left to throw the ball. Number 5 probably is most likely going to be open, which he is, but he threw the ball to the other guy. Right? Should have threw the ball to 5,
Mm-hmm.
like right now. This is something we used to run at Shelton all the time. Coach Mark Malcolm was very good at this. We ran this 100 different ways with who crossed and who meshed and where the dig came from and all that kind of stuff because it's very hard to do. Um, because you either got to take the crosser or you got to worry about the dig behind or you got someone going deep. It's the same thing here. So the reason why I put it in there. What's up, John Hart? Good to see you. Miss you, man. I was just talking to Rob Liebold about you as well. Okay, so JT, I just wanted to throw that in just because it was quads again, but they add the same type of concept in there. All right. This one. Well, this is one you can explain your set here when you were talking about what tray, difference between tray and trips. And
Yeah. So trips, at least in my vernacular, trips means 3 wide receivers, like 3 wide receiver bodies. Tray means one of those guys in the on the trip side is a tight end. So this guy being a tight end, uh, just semantics on tray versus trips, so you know whether there's a tight end in the game or not. Um, they've also got what looks like a tight end on the backside. So look at this. We say they don't actually run a lot of 21 personnel, but here it
that's a
is.
pop. That's a pop quiz. You just gave the answer. I was going to ask him what personnel is
Oh,
that.
see, maybe that's why we got to rehearse
Uh,
sometimes.
no, we don't rehearse. That's not us. That's not Teague Steak.
But um, one of the things that we have to think about as a defense is even though this is trips, we keep talking about quads, like the back is still over here. There's still 4 people that you have to cover on one side of the field. So for anybody who is just kind of like watching the game, trying to figure out how offenses or how defenses work, it's pretty simple. Like the game.
That's because you're good at math. I don't know. You can say it's pretty simple.
No. I'm not even going
You
with the
got a
math. I'm
double
not even going with the
major in
math
math.
part. I'm not even going with the math part. The thing is, the offense's job is to exploit space. They want to create space, and it's the defense's job to restrict space. That is really the name of the game of football. How can the offense make space, create space, and how can the defense restrict it? So what you kind of want to look for is, yes, how many people are on one side of the field versus the other side of the field? Where are the stacks and bunches? So I would call this a stack. This is kind of a stack if you want to. You can call it a bunch, whatever. Point is, though, look where this dude is standing. And
Yes.
the space out here. this is on this shaded area out here. That's the space that we think that at least pre-snap without any kind of post game or game plan stuff. If you're a corner or a safety, you're kind of thinking, hey man, something either this dude's probably trying to come over here, or we're trying to do something like this. We're trying to exploit the space. We want to draw everybody in so that we can pull somebody back out.
You sure you didn't watch the plays before?
I have not seen this play yet.
You sure okay. All right, because I know he used to cheat in class too a little bit.
Now.
But anyway, look at that deep over. I could have sworn you just said something about that. That's the only reason I said it. I didn't know that. But now you got to look, because go back to the beginning, because I need you to see who's out there on the 20-yard line at the top.
Did the back go the other direction?
Yes,
that's crazy. Now, look, I know that's not like shocking to most people, but like that doesn't happen very often. That's not a.
No, you're talking about conflict. So if you look at that corner up there, he has another guy coming to the tight end at the top. The nub guy actually comes up and goes out. So, right, he kind of stems in, but I think he goes back out. Right, so that corner would have been in problems over there between those two, but they had another guy. So, for me, JT, when I look at this type of play, it's like a weak flood. Right, so you had the short guy, the middle guy, and then you had the deep guy that just got to it in a very unique.
Yeah. Another thing I kind of forgot, again, talking about space, let's get to the pre-snap alignment, right? I was talking about the space down here, but again, there's more green grass right there.
Yep. And that's what they got to. And so, these are beaters, but you got all kind of ways to be able to throw the ball, as you can see. That he had options, a release, a check down to get it to the back if he wanted to. He could take the deep shot, but they kind of covered the middle up. So he had both, like you said, which one do you
Yeah, I mean, this looks like 3, right? Except what we were talking, this kind of looks like country cover 3 to me. Just drop back into the zone, and unfortunately, that corner is late getting out.
So this is what we were calling the dagger or the 4-beater. So the last little piece about this one you got to see and why it's so hard is if you actually, right here, JT, if you look at the guy on the 39-yard line at the bottom part of the deal, he's actually running an in route now. He actually probably could have took this guy because there's nobody in the middle of the field either. So he had a lot of options, to hit, and particularly if he throws it on time, because that guy's standing there. He's freaking.
Yep, there's space all over the place. You got, he's here, right? Oh, that was a pretty terrible circle there.
Yeah, I don't know what is that pothole you're drawing up on the field.
I'm drawing with the mouse, and I don't get to stand up here like the telestrators on when on ESPN or NFL Network, where they just get to run back to the TV and use their finger to draw stuff.
Hey, by the way, what's the Apple Cup? I just happened to see that in the middle.
That is Washington State's rivalry. They play for the Apple Cup.
Okay, so is that really there, or is that one of those laid over TV things that we?
No, that's actually
there. Okay. All right. What's up, Mr. Whitman? Appreciate you. Okay, so that was the dagger. You can go ahead and go to the next one unless you got something on there. Next thing we need to cover. It's an aggressive throw, which we like to see as well. When you got some dudes that got some speed, they can get all the way across the field, even though they cut it down. I don't know if there's a pause on this one or not. I really had to, yeah.
I'm just letting it roll right now.
Okay, so this is actually a Fresno.
Yeah, back to Fresno film.
Take lots of bodies in here, tighten it up. I think this is a pass route. similar kind of concept. You got the guy what JT was just talking about, exploiting the other side of the field, the areas. But if you look at it, the concepts are kind of the
They're
same,
the
right?
same.
You
They're the
know,
same.
it's
You know,
just
it's a you can call it a levels concept if you want to. You're just trying to put somebody in a bind, and if you kind of got a beat on your game plan and you're looking at this pre-snap and you're thinking, okay, it's either it might be one or three, whatever, and you know this guy's taking off, and you got a one high look, that guy probably better run with him,
it's
and you know that this backer, well, maybe this backer could be this one, but one of these two guys is going to be responsible for getting underneath here. Um, so
you
the
still got
question,
those four guys at the top. I
right?
mean, it's the same thing where they're
But
all
you
kind of
you
hidden.
as the OC, you're like, all right, so let's assume that this guy's going to the flat. How do we put him in conflict? Well, if you show him play action, right,
Which
and
they do.
you give him some kind of flow, he's got to step up and respect it, and then
He does.
you got enough room
You
behind him if you can make a good throw.
That's right. So great design. Gotta love it, right? I mean, it's exciting to see, but you still gotta have the guy that can throw the ball and put it right where you need it. Okay.
Well, I want to go back to this one. I think somebody was asking if this was 41.
Personnel.
Yeah, and no, not
20,
quite, because
20.
there's two receivers. So you
You
got
know, what does he say is the first number? What is the first number?
you asking
Number
me, or
of
you
tight
want me to
ends.
wait for
No, no,
somebody
no.
in chat?
No, yeah, I was basically prompting the chat because I mean, you probably can see it, and maybe you can ask, hey, it's a quick quiz by you. You can do that. Hey, when you look at those numbers, what does the first number of personnel mean versus the second?
Yeah. Well,
Got to
so now,
memorize that because you'll forget.
yeah. Now I have to pause for dramatic effect because chat is always slightly behind. So we'll see if anybody puts it in there, but
Okay.
doesn't
Well, it's
look like
okay.
it. But we'll see. We'll see who's right. There we go. BJ Swope, first one in the chat. Tight ends.
Yeah,
Yes, first
right.
number is tight ends. It means the second number is the back. So all we need to do is count this up. We got a center, guard, tackle, one tight end, guard, tackle, two tight ends, one back. So 21.
There we go. Nice. Now I hate this. This is a pet peeve of mine just because the alignment is wide receiver. You can't tell me he's not covering up that other
Oh,
guy.
he totally is.
Yeah,
He
just,
is
just
totally covering
like,
up this dude.
I'm like, come on, man. I know they let him get away with it and all that, but that's
Well,
a
he didn't go
tackle.
out though.
That's a tackle.
Yeah.
No, that's really a tackle. So that means the other guy's up top. There's two.
Is
That's
off.
So you got the center at the wrong spot. The center is on the hash
Oh, the
mark.
center is on the hash. Yep. There we go. Okay. Guard, tackle, tight end, tight end.
Yeah, there you go.
One, two. My bad. My bad.
All right. Good deal. Okay, but anyway, there's the concept there. Did you make your point? Yeah, you made
Yeah.
your point. That was good. Great question too by someone. All right, so the uh, next clip. All right, so I added this one in here because sometimes you want to, as JT was did a started talking about how you put people in conflict, and sometimes things are kind of mirrored on both sides. The coaches will say, um, I don't know, give the quarterback the option to pick which side he wants to throw to. Would that be fair, right, JT? So sometimes
Oh, hold on. I was reading chat. Got to give Bama Jeff 79 his props. He's already locked in. 21 personnel.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking
Although,
about. That could be a running back.
yeah, I was gonna say. Although I think you're wrong here.
That could be a running back.
I think this
What
is
now?
12 personnel.
Now that's a problem too. So let me say this as a coach. So thank you, Bama Jeff. As a coach, I would always draw on the board with circles, right? So forget numbers.
Mhm.
I could draw this formation up and say what personnel is this? And the answer on when you're looking at a whiteboard, they should be, well, I don't know because
That's where you gotta have rules though. You gotta have you got you, you gotta have rules.
because you could draw this formation up with two wide receivers up
Uh-huh.
here and two tight
Yeah.
ends at the top, or that other guy could actually be a wide receiver. So it could be 11 personnel and it look exactly the same
Mm-hmm.
on the board. But anyway, I'll get back to my point here is when you're saying, so we used to do that too. If we had someone that you wanted to make sure the quarterback can kind of look and kind of count and say, okay, I'm going to run a bubble on each side, or I'm going to run that. What'd you call that one route? The little C route.
The
The
Carolina
insert
route.
corner, the Carolina routes to both sides, and you're really just trying to look to see how they line up and try to figure out what it's going to be. That's not necessarily what they run here. But when you look at it, I thought it was interesting again because essentially they're giving the quarterback two ways to pick a side. So he's looking right now and saying, "Where are my best options?" So when JT hits play for you, if you look at the bottom, you get a bubble, right? Now just run it back. If you look at the top, those two guys are essentially running the same play, the tight
Mm-hmm.
end and whatever that other guy is. He's backing up. He's looking kind of thick. He's probably tight end. I don't know. So it looked like it would have worked on both sides, right? Again,
Yeah,
if
I
you're
think
a
they would
running
have had
back,
a tougher time. Uh,
short field always tougher.
yeah, I think they would have had a tougher time up top because you still would have had to make a guy miss. Whereas down here at the bottom, just because of the cushion, you don't have to make a guy miss. You just need to run forward and fall.
Well, see, and that, yes, and I think that's where I was trying to make the point too. Help. Thank you for helping me make that point. That quarterback got to see that on alignment at the beginning too, because they only had two choices: is a bubble to the bottom or a bubble to the top. There's nobody else going out for a route. I guess he could have handed it off, but he didn't even decide to do that. So it's trying to put people in conflict and try to find the space. And when you have athletes, which Alabama will, the key is to try to get them the ball in their hand as fast as possible and let them do their things and make people miss like this. Sometime, not all the time, but it's an easy way to get people on the stat sheet, get them involved. Um, just know you can get it out there to them fairly quick because this is an RPO, right? There's no pullers. They're running inside zone. I think
Mm-hmm.
with just a tag of, or they're just saying, hey, every time we run inside zone, you're running bubbles, um, and then the quarterback has the right to throw it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is that first round of
Yeah, I think
plays?
that's
That
it
should
here.
be
Oh,
all
no,
of
there's
the
one
first.
more. Looks like there's one more. True
All right.
trips. Back a set week this time. Thank
So when we
God.
ask somebody, if you were just looking at it, now we're in the chat. What kind of personnel are we looking at? This would be different for them. What would they think it is? You know, I know we don't know everybody on there, but I know what I would say it is. Anyway, so let's see what they uh, say. Okay, so this is probably my other mesh route that I was getting ready to tell you. So sometimes there's indicators like this. Like JT was talking about, hey, when you condense formations, he already drew up those boxes, those rectangles towards the outside of the
Hey,
field.
hold on. Wait a minute. I think we need to correct ourselves because I think that we told everybody that first number was tight ends.
21 is the first one is backs first.
Yes,
21.
I think that at least I said it. I think I said that the tight end number was first, which is not right.
Yeah, 21 personnel is two backs, one tight end.
Yes, 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 yes.
10 is
One back, no tight end.
one
10 is
back,
what
no
this
tight
is.
ends.
There's
You
no
giving
tight
away the
ends.
you giving away the answer.
I know, but we just confused like I don't know 560
Oh,
people.
right. Okay. All right. Well, our bad on that. They're not paying attention. Okay, so it's back to the mesh route concept because what he said here, you start to think, what are you going to do with the areas to the outside of the field or to the middle? So on this play right here, if you start to see you can call them crossers or meshers, or basically, if you're a man to man, you're going to crash to each other because those two wide receivers are getting run right next to each other. So it's almost a man beater, right? But again, quarterback, if you look at this, JT, we ran this so much at Shelton. I absolutely loved it because that crosser from the top or the mesh guy or whatever, the under route, he's going to be wide open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure. I mean, you already know right now if you're the quarterback, he's he's supposed to look at the guy that was down and see at the snap, where does he go? He chases that guy across the field. It's an automatic throw it to the guy from the top, opposite at his back, and there he is. I mean, just it's easy, as JT was saying. It's pretty doggone easy to see. Okay, so
Oh,
we're going to the run game.
yep.
This
We
is
just jumped in the run game
the
now.
next one. Yep. So started
And
off.
you started off not with inside zone.
You know, you know.
This first one is a what's this double G counter? Is that what this is?
Well, it's probably just the way that I had to put in there to cut it up. I just put numbers in.
Mm,
Something you taught me, not necessarily.
wait,
Mhm. Okay,
I'm
so
just the center pulled. That's you got to be one athletic son of a gun to snap the ball and then pull.
Kelsey, Kelsey 2.0. That'll help you get drafted when you can do that.
Yeah,
So they had some pretty athletic linemen. I need to say that they had good size and they're big and all that. But what I did notice is that they were very athletic. How many times do you see a whole lot of look at this tackle that's coming around, that's doing the
that
rap?
just basically just kind of jump cut himself.
Yeah, this dude, that dude's a freaking athlete. I mean, you don't even hardly see tackles with towels hanging off their ass. Like
I know
they're
the
typical.
swag on this
Look
dude here,
at it,
right?
that 55. I mean, that dude, if he's looking for guys like that,
Man, he played fullback in high school. That's what that was.
you know what I'm saying. So that's a different piece. Do those type of guys fit in the SEC? Things of that kind of nature. I don't know. You got to be a pretty physical kind of specimen. Now they did end up in the national championship, but didn't fare so well when it came to other pieces. All right, so this is the what we could talk about. You got a puller and a lead. You still got four people up at the top again. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
you know. So just a run
That's
game.
just that's definitely
It's
just a sweep.
the sweep. Um, but the linemen are all doing the same thing again. You're not seeing a whole lot of extra um, stuff. This is pretty big dudes for Fresno, big fella. Well, I'm gonna say they did some pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes looking large. That's how we need to look at. Maybe we can get JP2 some white
Oh,
helmets.
hold on. I gotta put this comment on screen. I gotta find. Brian Green says we gotta do 100 push-ups for the confusion.
Oh well, I give you 10. JT can do the
Hey,
90.
well, you know what really is? I've just created extra work because now I'm gonna have to go back and edit this video and like correct it
How you gonna do that?
because
You gonna put some words up there because everybody be talking
I'm
about
gonna
you
have
giving
to
bad
because
information.
that
You giving bad info.
well, yeah, I'm giving bad info, but like there have been plenty of people that will I don't understand it. So if the shoe fits, I'm sorry, but there are people who will go back and they will watch this and they will make comments under the video as if it's live and they will like ask questions and it's recorded and we did it a week ago and then they'll have like a string of like 5 or 6 comments. So, just to go ahead and alleviate that, I might just have to cut it out or whatever.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, more motion again. This is that's the play that you wanted first. This is the play that JT wanted first. It's basically a split zone, um,
Yeah.
inside zone.
Inside zone.
So again, it's a very common play. It's not new. He just was very um, deliberate about running it. You're trying to get a double team, which is probably the center and the guard. In this case, you're trying to get some movement, blocking down. There's a pretty big hole. The jump cut that we talked about with Blake Corum and all that kind of stuff. There it is. You just it's pretty good. It's nice, easy play. So I'm gonna ask you this, just because what do you think? Do you like the inside as a running back? You like the inside zone better or the outside zone?
Inside zone. Inside zone's easier.
Okay, so can you explain the difference in aiming points when you're trying to run an inside zone versus
Uh,
outside zone for running
yes.
back?
Let me go back to
Yeah, well, you can draw it up.
yeah. So, and this might not hold true for every offense, but at least when I was playing, this is
So,
my aiming point for inside zone. Was inside foot of the guard.
guard.
If we're going backside, well, we're always going. You can't run inside zone this way like this. So, um, inside foot of the guard, and then you're looking for cutback in the usually in the A gap. Sometimes it's all the way back, but that's why good running backs make the big money because they'll find a cutback all the way back. Outside zone, your aiming point goes from here to here, where now your cutback is going to be in um, B gap or front side A gap. I always found it easier to take a shorter step and then maybe even just more fun to come backside because you've got sometimes you get fast flow. Everybody's running this way, and then you can get that cut back. Outside zone, for me, you're still kind of cutting back into the. You're not cutting back against the flow. You're trying to knife it
Mm-hmm.
more like what was that game? Frogger, right? Traffic's all going this way. You can't like cut back and just avoid the backside of traffic. You still gotta like weed through, uh, read through some of that stuff. So I've always liked inside zone better than outside zone, but I got really good at trying to find the cutback and knifing it up. So um, both of those I think are easier and take less trust in your alignment than counter trap. Well, my least favorite is trap. I as a running back, I hate it.
You afraid they're gonna miss the trapper or
Absolutely.
what?
Especially the short trap. It's like, wait, we're just gonna leave the three tech right here. And like I'm just
Mm-hmm.
expecting like, no, man. Like some of the three techs that I played against were animals.
Well, okay. Well, I hope you've gotten over it by now. So anyway, I just asked that just for a good measure, to see what you actually like, because I know there's still the front side piece, and you'll see it kind of happen. Sometimes the front side opens up and it just kind of runs straight, and it looks like a dive or something the other way. But this is a good looking play. And then when you add the piece of the quarterback pull, so I don't necessarily like. I mean, he pulled it some, Penix. I guess if you went and looked at the RPOs, or
Mm-hmm.
actually how many times he actually pulled it, is very minimal. Most of the times he was throwing the bubble off of it, or some type of play action. But you always got that piece, what you see right here, where the quarterback could keep the ball and run it. And that's where we're saying how does Milrow actually fit into these type of things, because there would be a ton of hand it to the running back, quarterback, keep it, or throw it to one of those wide receivers. Um, out there, right? Same thing. It's RPO, right? Hand it to the running back, quarterback, keep it, or if you want to see if you run it back, they got the bubble built in.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna need the wide for that.
Yeah, where he could actually throw it to. I don't know if you can circle that dude up there, uh, the number 3 wide receiver, or he could actually throw it. So, uh, I don't know, man. It's a lot. You just gotta it's counting. Is what you said. Who's in the worst position, and how do we make it? Then you have fun off of that, right? Then you got
Mm-hmm.
fake RPOs, or what do you call it? Fake bubbles, and then the wide receiver runs up the field if you're jumping too hard. So it's a shoot. This quarterback here, he could have kept the doggone ball.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Run,
But I don't know. I don't know what
not a
the
runner
rules
problem.
are because I
Oh, he
was
could have
talking
said
to
lock it.
yeah, I was talking to our offensive coordinator. Back when we had a quarterback that was way more uh, like he had never played quarterback, right? He was just an athlete that we stuck back there, and we would run that kind of read option stuff, and he would hand it off all the time. And I was telling him that one way that we should start thinking about it would be you as offensive coordinator, you need to tell you should give your quarterback rules basically on who should get the ball. And I don't mean that like read this guy, hand it or give it. More like you can set up the structure to where the quarterback is going to keep the ball more times than the running back. So what I said was if you want the running back to keep the ball, you should have your quarterback's mindset is hand the ball off unless you think he's going to get tackled. If you think he's going to get tackled, pull it. Take your chances. But if you want the quarterback to keep the ball, you tell him to read the end or whoever their read key is, and you say, hey, quarterback, if you think that guy can tackle you, give it away.
Give it. Mm-hmm.
And, so now if you have the athletic quarterback and you want him to pull it more often, you just tell him your read is not can the running back get some yardage, it's can that guy tackle you? And if you don't think he can tackle you, then keep it yourself.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love that because when we first got here, we had a quarterback who, you have your read if the guy goes down, pull it, but we really didn't want him to pull it because our quarterback couldn't run. So, by the time the linebacker, as you can see, this linebacker could be looking for the quarterback or he could be looking for the running back. If he can get to your quarterback, that's not quite as athletic, it's not a good deal. You want to have the running back make that 1 yard. I'm thinking of short yardage in particularly. So we had to start adding lock,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what the read was. They said, no, you're handing it to the running back. You don't even have an option. Okay, here we go. Uh, I want to guess this is some kind of counter or pin and pull. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. You can call this counter or you can call it power.
Uh, shoot.
Or does it even
Got
matter?
it, man.
I guess we'll look at the running back. The running back is
His steps.
I don't know. I mean, he's going straight downhill, right? I
That's
call it
yeah,
power, but who
yeah.
cares? Who
It
cares?
doesn't matter. It's a physical run. Is the base thing they want you to be able to see. They didn't have a whole lot of guys to block um, down here because they're all slanted to the
Yeah, they're slanting the wrong side here.
left. They're slanting the wrong way, so it kind of made for it. But what I did like, and it's the discipline that you got to have for your running backs to be able to stay inside them pullers and go, um, which we wanted our quarterback to do a little bit more instead of
Mm-hmm.
trying to bounce it. There's probably one more clip. Yep. And so I did this one just for you. Look at that formation again. First of all, uh,
Yeah, it's this man. Like game planning against this sucks.
yeah.
Cause now like
And
there's
it's a
just so many
normal.
things.
It's a normal personnel group, and this is 20. I'm sorry, 12 personnel. Didn't you say that before? I think you. Oh, I think you
Yeah,
drew it up right. We just said it wrong.
yeah, we said it wrong.
Right.
So this is 12 personnel, except again, like the thing that we have to, as a defense, that we're gonna have to look at it is that guy's not eligible. He's on the
Oh,
line. This guy's eligible.
correct. Yes. And you don't have to declare in high school. Think about
Yeah,
the
or college. It's
or
weird, right?
college. Yeah, I'm sorry. The
Uh,
NCAA rules you don't have to declare. In the pros, you would have to say whatever number he is. 72 is eligible. Um, I don't even
yeah,
think
so
you can't even make him eligible in high school
because of
or
the number.
because of the number. Yep, you'd have to throw it backwards to him.
But you got that going on. It's like that guy can't even go out for a pass anymore. But then you got the extra gap, right? So you have A, B, C, D, and E gap. So now, at least what I've done in the past was say that guy is not the center. This guy's the center. So your three technique actually needs to be way out here, which it looks like that's kind of what they do. I don't
Yeah,
know,
they went shade 5,
but they
9.
you gotta shift this way with the line. You probably gotta walk somebody up. I don't know where their corner went. I guess maybe they went like a Connie and moved the corner over here and just kept the linebacker over here on this dude. Gotta have
Yep.
faith in your linebacker to do that. But hey, um,
And then this is what happens when you hit play. As you say, and you slide everybody right, and then all of a sudden these pullers start coming to the to the short side
yeah,
with a lead running back, and if you got a quarterback who can run, so go ahead and hit play. And you see, you got pullers, you got leaders, and then you got a quarterback that's keeping the ball and getting it up in there. So it's just a lot to think about. So what am I saying about all of this and with the the plays? You better be ready to line up and see a whole lot of crap from this offensive staff. Um, you got to be you're back to the top.
yeah.
So you're going to be very disciplined about lining up, or you're going to can be exposed in a lot of ways, run or pass. Right. So I'm excited about that piece. If you're asking me about it, I have no issues with any of this. I think it's good. I think it's going to be a little bit different in the type of runs, like we said, and unless he adapts a little bit just to the people that we have, and you know how much different is the SEC running game versus the Pac-12.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So I scraped 4 questions. Um, I don't know that we have good answers for any of them, but here we go. One from John. Uh,
John
if
Runyon Project.
if Grubb is the OC, does he bring in Will Rogers as QB, who transferred to Washington from Mississippi State and just went to the portal again? This assumes he thinks Milroe cannot run his offense. Um, no, I I don't think so. I don't. They got like 14 running backs on the roster right now, or not running backs, quarterbacks on the roster. Like they don't need Will Rogers.
Well, yeah, and I think you also have to ask yourself too, what does a player really want to do? Does he want to try to step into something like this? Unless you come, ready made like Deion did, Sanders, where he's saying, "Hey, this is my quarterback," and now it's his son. Um, but I think you, like you said, JT hit it. I think you got so much talent already there that you basically have to tell someone to beat it. Probably from the team, or
Well,
expect someone to transfer once you
maybe
start.
maybe maybe he does come to Alabama just because he's trying to angle for a GA position. He's just trying to he's angling that GA play.
I like your positive outlook and your how you spin that a little bit. That'll be good. But either way, I think the transfer portal. I don't know how many questions you got in there about that.
Well, we
What is
just
this?
got one. I'll let him jump the line since we're talking about it. Have you guys discussed if? Oh, maybe I should just put it on screen. Have you guys discussed if DeBoer was able to keep 007 with Bama? I have no idea.
Yeah. No,
Well, have we discussed it? No. The
no.
answer is we have no idea.
Yeah. We don't. I the personnel stuff. So one of the things we're going to do this off season is really dive into what does the off season look like, and it's going to be a little bit. Uh, I think it's going to be very telling, right? Because this is going to be very critical for coach now. Who does he keep from the class that just signed from December, right? What is it going to look like for what he needs for the class that's going to have to sign on February the 7th? How much, if any, is he in the portal? Who ends up actually jumping into the portal at a lot of later date? He's having to recruit, talk, watch film, figure out what he wants to do, and really see all these things that we're talking about here, meeting with his staff. He's still got to hire people. Good Lord. The whole good bit and try to figure out, okay, what is this thing going to look like in April? What do I really want to put in, and do I have the pieces that he needs to be successful? Of course, we're all saying, hey, there's already talent there. There's tons of 4 stars, 5-star guys. What else do you need? It still has to fit with your mindset on how you call plays and what you run, right?
Yep.
Okay. Next question.
All right. Do you think Milrow will be QB?
Uh, it's all an opinion. So when you're saying think, my think is that he is the QB until he proves he can't, or unless he cannot prove that he can run the system that
Mm-hmm.
this coach wants. I think you come in and you say, "Hey, you're our dude." I mean, he's proven it, right? He's one of the best pieces in there. But there's a lot of stuff as that we've talked about in the previous segment about um, being able to read, get the ball in the right places, knowing where the weaknesses of the defense are, getting the ball in the right spot and on the right time. So if you think about how this was for Milrow at the beginning of the year, again, I absolutely love Milrow. That's not, please hear me say that. I think he's uh, a wonderful quarterback. I think he has some things that he still need to work on. I'm hoping he's spending some time on accuracy and throwing the ball and standing, stepping up into the pocket and hitting the shots that he needs to. And I know he is. That's the kind of guy that he is. So I think he goes in the spring as the number one guy. I think he ends up, you know, probably being the starter for the team unless he just has something where it's just not meshing and clicking uh, with the coordinator um, and with coach.
Oh, I was on mute. Any thoughts on names for DC?
Man, not for me. And again, I'm not talking to anybody about who to hire and who they should be and whatnot because, again, it's a kind of something that I addressed at the beginning. You know, the head coach has to find the person that he can trust first and foremost, but also the coach that he feels can execute what he needs to do. Um, so as a head coach, I guess I was a head coach for 17 years. I had to hire a lot of coordinators. Some of the times I took the guys with me that I trusted and I wanted, and sometimes I knew I was going to have to adjust that they were okay and they were good for me, but maybe they didn't fit. For instance, I didn't bring um, all of my uh, people over to Kelton Christian, or I ended up making the switch. You once I got around David Ferris was the coordinator that I hired at Shelton. I knew I needed to have him, or yeah, when I came to JP2 because he fit my mindset in the mold, and he was everything that I needed. Um,
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna throw this in here. Um, Two things because I think it ties into exactly. I think we can segue into this. Um, the question is, what do you think about T. Rob leaving? So please continue your thought about fitting the mold and mindset of new coaches.
Yeah, so the people have to fit into your mindset because we're all kind of built different. We all have certain strengths or weaknesses that may not fit with us, and I know that with a lot of times there are people that I've trusted and I wanted. So here's the deal. I'll just give you the real life story when you're talking about something like this, and then JT can give his point. So when I first got to John Paul II, the high school, they had a staff there. Some of the coaches were really, really good. Some of them wasn't. But I had to make the decision as a head coach of can that guy, based upon me talking to him first, um, will he fit into what I'm doing? And there were some guys that were probably very, very good coaches that I didn't feel like were going to fit with what I'm doing because of how they answer questions and what they were doing and what they were accustomed to, or maybe they didn't know or something with that. So I would have to, I made the decision to be able to let them go. That's not always the case, but you need to remember also that when you are on a staff that has just been, your coach just left. Sometimes you're not even waiting for what the other head coach wants. You might not even want to coach with them.
Right.
Maybe there's something
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, it's a two-way street, right? Like just because you want him to stay doesn't mean that he wants to work for you.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes we gotta bolt, or maybe now there's another opportunity because they're getting plucked. The coaching staff is getting plucked the same way the kids are in the transfer portal. As soon as Nick Saban said he retired, I promise you, some of those guys were getting called immediately
Mm-hmm.
from some other coordinator or head coach saying, "Hey, what are you going to do? Are you trying to stick this out? Well, what's your contract look like? What is it by? Whatever." Um, and so those 2 3 days could have been critical without a head coach where you talk to a Kirby Smart or someone is like, "Hey, man, it's time now. I couldn't get you here before, and my guy just left, or whatever. I got a spot. I got you. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna throw in a house, and who knows what
Mm-hmm.
it is now. Well, shoot, I always wanted to get back to Georgia anyway, or something. So um, it's very hard to speculate on what a coach will do, um, because I mean, shoot, JT's having to deal with it when you've gone through 3 coaches now at JP2.
Yeah, and well,
And we're all
in just as
different though,
many
right?
years. Yeah, very. It's yeah, very different. Very very different.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had to make that decision. Do I want to be at the university? And first of all, JT didn't know whether or not Mario Edwards wanted to keep him, or if Nick Shealy wanted to, keep him because he didn't have to.
Nope.
Um, regardless if he wanted to be there or not. So uh, anyway, all right. Any more questions in there? That's queued
Yeah,
up.
I've got one more, but I do want to. Justin, the Bama Standard Network, says the former Alabama defensive lineman Nick Gentry is applying for the DC position. Phil Parker and Jim Leonard are top candidates. I This is just my opinion. I don't think Phil Parker is even entertaining any anybody. I don't think Phil Parker is going anywhere. That
Well,
dude,
why do you say that?
that dude, that dude has been at Iowa as a DC for like a decade, and he was there as a DB's coach even before then. Like my thought is like if you're gonna be a DC that long and and your offense is that bad for that long, like dude, you just want to stay at Iowa. Like that's just your place. That's your home. Now he ain't trying to go nowhere. And I think the problems that he would face with and the territory and things that he's gonna have with Alabama and the nuke, like he ain't. It's just not. I don't think that's something that he wants to deal with. I think he's very content. I don't think money is a thing for him. I think he just wants to be a DC at Iowa, like he's been for the last decade, and keep it moving.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, you got any last words? We're almost right at 90 minutes. Oh, you got another. Okay.
Yeah, but we kind of covered this. Who do you think would be the linebacker coach in DC?
Uh,
Mm,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And one of the things that I think we would say that we do, and I think JT and I are both kind of the same with this, and I know it's part of the media world. I guess we can call ourselves media, trying to speculate and give topics of who would fit the best. I can say neither one of us are really kind of like that. So I'm sorry if you're looking at for us. We're kind of, hey, whoever he hires is what we're gonna have to roll with, and we can kind of give our opinion on do we like the dude or not, or we can go back and watch film after he's here. But it's extremely hard to do. There was so much speculation about who the head coach is going to be and what do you do. I mean, our phones are blowing up, and who do you think is going to be, and who would you go get? Man, that's just all bar talk and saying why we don't want them, or
mm,
why we do want them when there's no real pieces to this. So for us to say, who do we think is going to be? I don't know coach at all. I don't. His defense is what I just learned more of now than I knew the whole time. So I then would have to go look and say, well, what defensive coordinator likes to run quarters a whole lot, and do they run it like this? And going back and watch film, say who actually fits coach's mindset. Um, and it could be somebody from his on the staff
Yeah.
in Washington. I don't know. So I don't know. Sorry, we just don't speculate too much like that.
All right. Well, last thing is for all of you guys that are viewing us right now on the Bama Standard, um, please come check us out and also subscribe to us on our main channel, which is Teague's Take. I guess I probably should be doing that like every week. I don't think we say that enough. But as we said earlier in the show, we're trying to get to, well, I said it in chat. Chat has long scrolled past that message. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on our main channel. What you will find over there is some of our extra film clips. I will cut this up, make it shorter so you can just watch the film stuff too. But we're also going to do a Q&A once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So from there, you will see me trying to put together a form or something so that you can submit questions to the show so that we can get those answered. They can be from all kinds of topics, from football to grilling to beer and bourbon, I guess, or cigars, whatever, video
That too.
games, computers, whatever.
Chess, chess.
Chess, yeah,
Don't forget about chess. We
chess.
got those some chess in there.
uh, so, we appreciate the support from you guys. Um, Bema Jeff 79. Yes, we are. Um, I guess if you know, you know. I'm not gonna put the chat up there, but yes. Um, so
Oh.
thank you all thank you all for supporting us, and come find us on our main channel. You'll see some extra content. Sometimes we do some exclusives over there. Um, there is a memorabilia website if you want. What you got? You got cards. You got signed Alabama cards, Packers cards, Cowboys cards. You got signed jerseys. You got signed footballs.
That is next.
Oh,
I do
well,
not have them on there yet. We had a little Christmas special, but now I'm going to start having signed Alabama footballs with the script A on it. That will be next.
well, then there you go. That's at millions.co/George-Teague, I believe. So
Yep.
find that for us. Yes, Ben Allen says great show. Indeed. Roll Tide, fam. Roll Tide.
Oh,
Thank you guys. That's all we got. What's next? We're gonna be talking recruits. We're gonna be going through some highlights and stuff. Talking about some of the guys that have signed. I guess now we have to be a little bit more careful. Guys who have signed and like retained. So I guess maybe we should wait till after National Signing Day. Because when we had this whole schedule, we didn't have a shakeup like this. So stay tuned, I guess.
could change. That's exactly right. So go ahead and mark it, as you said. So we will, for those of you that listen to us on the Wednesdays, we will not be on Wednesday the 17th. Our next show will actually be the 24th. JT, check your calendar, the 24th. And that'll give some time to kind of find out what's going on. Also with the recruiting world, who's there, who isn't. And our, as he said, it is our take to try to start giving you information about upcoming recruits, what does off season look like, and maybe showing films of guys that we're actually maybe looking at now, as opposed to who actually signed. But I had all of it broken out on the people that already signed. So we want to try to show you the huddle film and how they actually fit. But that fit was going to be based upon what Saban and those guys were doing. And now we got to make sure that this actually, how do they fit into a offense and defense of DaBoer.
Since I still have a captive audience, there's a lot of you guys in the chat, and I know this is like the most southern goodbye, right? We've been talking about how we're going to end the show for a long time, but I keep thinking about things. I guess just either chat that you're in, just let us know if you have any kind of interest in some NFL film breakdown during the offseason while there's no college football around, or any kind of, I mean, maybe we even just pick like high profile games to break down from the college season. You know, I'll take Redmayne put a rock on thing in there. So if you got any of those, put ones in the chats. I don't know, thumbs up, whatever. Just let us know if you would like that kind of content. Because maybe that won't be live content, but we can definitely record that, put those up for people to spend their time watching, because we enjoy doing it.
Great point. Great point. We do. We love this part. And so, and we plan on continuing as much as possible, unless you guys tell us something different. But we want to stay with the film and the analysis and breaking down and giving you the scoop on what we know there. So, roll tide to everybody. Man, it's gonna be good. We shouldn't be panicking, you know, or any of that kind of nature. I know we aren't. I will say, and if we could find a way for it to make it back to Coach here, that we're gonna support him. We're gonna have him there. He has the hardest dang job, I think, in the sports world right now, trying to follow behind this guy, because the realistic truth of the matter is he can't have a down year. He can't, or the perception and the perspectives and all this other kind of stuff comes bad. And it's probably even going to be harder just because of the way the conference is going to be set up. You got Texas coming in now, and OU, and you got other stuff. And I don't even know if it would have been realistic. I think I've said this on before. Would Bama have been a 2-loss team next year anyway, just because of the way that the SEC is set up? Could we have lost 2 games?
Yes. I'm
saying yes. So if this guy comes in and he loses 2 games, we can't fall off the cliff and be like, man, we ain't lost these kind of, I'm talking about regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you just get mad if like those 2 games are like Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Like then maybe you got
he out. He's out. He's out. But so he's got to get to work. He's got some serious grinding. He's got to shake a lot of hands. He's got to do a lot of talking, a lot of stuff. And I mean, it's just new. He's in Tuscaloosa, and it's going to be grand. He's got to recruit his own kids again. I'm not saying I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt or just giving him a pass.
Underrated comment right there.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, it's just the guy's got a big task, and I can't imagine what his nights are going to be like for the next.
Yo, Relayer 56, what does this even mean?
Bigger than a 1-arm paper hanger. That means it's just. I never even heard of one.
No, I don't know what that is. I have no
Where
idea.
is he from? There is no 1-arm paper hanger. They all hangers have 2. First of all, and one. He's just trying to stay alive, is what he's saying. He can't keep his shirt. He can't keep his shirt on.
Oh, it was great. All right, I'm gonna hit the outro. We've been going for an hour and 38 minutes, which is way longer than we usually go.
Turn on the music, man. We ain't heard the music in a minute. You got the
Yeah, I got
all
it.
Right, man.
There it is.
There it is. Hey, thank you guys very much. Subscribe for us, please. Let's do that. And we will see you back on January 24th to talk some recruits. All right. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.